Welcome to Prasad Pod. I'm your host, Jarrell Prasad.
And I'm your co-host, Paul Campbell.
So, on today's episode, we're going to talk about uh, Hollyweird, the inside Illuminati trend with Hollywood and the music industry, and where a lot of it originated and what's kind of happening with it today. So, Paul here is going to share his screen and start off with what everything started out with. Go ahead and share your screen, Paul.
Yeah. So I think we're all like aware of, you know, we've all heard murmurations of like the weird stuff that goes on in Hollywood, and I just kind of, through noticing things in movies and entertainment over the years, you kind of notice these patterns, and so you start looking at these things and digging more deeply into it because after a while, when you see the same themes and the same imagery over and over and over again, you start to think, well, I don't think this is by coincidence. I think there might be something to this. It might be something orchestrated. So you go and you start looking, and then all of a sudden you find out that, oh, wait a minute, they're telling you something. And, on before we've talked about the religion, that is going on, how there's clearly like there is a Christianity, but there's this antithetical religion opposed to it. And that's where a lot of the entertainment industry, sports, music industry, all of this stuff has been kind of co-opted in some sense by this weird, satanic, uh, cult, for lack of a better term. And
Yeah,
it's, I
and
started, oh, good.
yeah, with me, sorry to cut you off, but and with me, like before, I'm sure a lot of you are all probably unaware of it and doesn't and don't realize what's going on because like for the longest I used to love Hollywood and movies and wanting to live the fantastic life. When I was in Iraq, I used to watch Entourage with me and my friend, and we used to talk about getting out of the military and going to Hollywood and becoming actors and trying to live a life like Vincent Chase, but I was blind to it, and I'm kind of glad that my life went a different route because you never know with all that's involved what would happen. I grew up in Florida, and I was could have easily went to Nickelodeon and try to be part of that life right there, but I could have ended up like one of those kids on Quiet on the Set, like Jeanette McCurdy or Amanda Bynes or whatever. I mean, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been as bad as exposed as they were, but it could have led to one life or another, and I could have been swayed by the darker side of Hollywood, not knowing well, even though I was raised in a Christian household and with a Christian upbringing. The temptations of the other side, you never know what you'd be susceptible to, especially if you're blind to all the evils going on in the world. So go ahead, Paul. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, but that's a good point and what's the story that you always hear about, like when you got discovered in Hollywood? How'd you become famous? Oh, I got discovered at a coffee shop. There's all of these celebrities like the ones you mentioned and a zillion more that, just were just another face in a crowd, so to speak, and then all of a sudden there's on the cover of every single magazine. So how did that change take place? And it starts with, well, what's the story that they give you is run away to Hollywood where you can make your dreams come true. And where does that all originate from? Well, it actually originates from the very first uh, superstar in Hollywood. The very first superstar in Hollywood. Hold on. We're going to get into that. Was hold on.
There we go. I think
Hold
that's
on.
the right one.
I'm trying to find it. Here we go. Yes, this is it. So the very first star in Hollywood was Charlie Chaplin. So what do we know about Charlie Chaplin? This is like ancient history, and I don't think a lot of people have even heard of Charlie Chaplin, but you may have seen like this image before of this guy, the hobo, right? The dude with the mustache and the hat, and he's kind of goofy, and his first major movie was The Kid. Very apropos for the conversation we're going to have today. And this is, just to give you a heads up, this is going to be some pretty difficult, dark stuff. So if you're into that sort of thing, buckle up. If you're not into it, well, you might want to fasten your seatbelts even more because this is some pretty wild accusations, but there's a lot of evidence to support what we're saying. And
It's
none of
funny
the,
how he has the Hitler mustache and he's a terrible person. So was Hitler,
hey, I mean, if you have that mustache, you just might be evil. I don't know what what goes on with that facial hair.
right?
I got a
It's,
5 o'clock shadow right now. Hopefully that's not too evil. But
yeah,
all right, so Charlie Chaplin, if you don't know about his life, you can find all of my sources are I just Googled it. This is not conspiracy realm. This is you can find this stuff too. But in his early life, he was came from nothing. He was a beggar. His mother was a prostitute. His father was an alcoholic who died young. His mother was committed to a mental institution. And in spite of all of that, going in and out of orphanages, being on the streets, enduring a lot of abuse throughout all of his life, he becomes the most famous man in the world and the very first mega movie star by the time he's 26. So, how does this sort of thing happen, this rags to riches story? Well, we're going to skip ahead for how I like really it's the same story to skip ahead over it. It's the same story that it always is with every actor. I was a nobody and I got discovered and put in a movie and all of a sudden I'm being pushed as the number one, best movie actor in the world. And of course he was a brilliant physical comedian and extremely talented, but this is where all of the stories of the unknown superstar originate from. And if you know who this man was, he was a pedophile, tyrant, and abuser, and just an all-around horrible man. And he was known for bussing in runaways for his deviant sexual behavior on set. And his first wife, yeah, I think he was married 5 times, but his first wife had a miscarriage. In all likelihood due to his violent abuse. And when he divorced her, they were married when she was 16 years old. And he would cheat on her constantly, and she wrote a book about it. He left her for a 12-year-old who he renamed Lolita Gray or Lita Gray, and she was the inspiration for the famous book Lolita. And it says here, this is just based on Google, Wikipedia. This is mainstream topics that anybody can look into and can get verified. But the writer Joyce Milton, who wrote Lolita, the story about a older man being seduced by a younger woman, which let's be honest, that's a male fantasy right there. In all reality, we know what the power dynamics are in older men and younger women's, sexual dynamics. But the major inspiration was Lita Gray, Charlie Chaplin's mistress, who he met when she was 12 years old, and he did all sorts of crazy things with her. And when he was done with them, he would cast them to the side. This
it
sort
sounds
of
like a
behavior.
season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Uh, and it was unbelievable what he got away with. There's a documentary I saw on Turner Classic Movies about his life where his children from his last wife, who he was in his late 40s and she was 18 when they got married, they had 7 children. They said, "Oh, well, yes, he was just in love with, the beauty and the innocence of them." Like talking about the young girls, like pubescent girls who were like 13, 14 years old. That's the age he liked. Literally busing them into the set so he could do whatever he wanted with them. All these runaways, all these orphans.
Is there any type of excuse for it? Because, I mean, you did say he had a lot of trauma. Like his mother was a prostitute and she was committed mentally and he was an orphan. I mean, is there any kind of like, okay, we gotta, cut this guy a break,
Well,
or,
yeah,
just like, evil is evil.
that's the question morally that you have to ask yourself. That they explain it away in that way as well. He had a tough upbringing. Okay, well, you are not. Nobody is what trials and tribulations you've experienced. There are experiences that we learn from. They're horrible, but we grow from them. We overcome them. If if you have a proclivity for sin, your challenge is to overcome whatever that issue is, whether it be violence, sexuality, alcoholism, just being mean, thievery, even people up to including murder. You have to understand what you're capable of and not do that thing. That's picking up your cross at like Jesus did, and carrying our sins uh, on his behalf, really, or on our behalf, but him taking all of our sins on upon himself. We have to do that and understand that the sins that have been heaped upon me, the bad experiences, the trauma, whatever it is, I have to not do those things. I have to stop myself from re-engaging in that type of learned behavior. So really, yeah, they try to make excuses for it, but that's not
So
good enough. You're like
what you're
doing all the
saying is, yeah, what you're saying is we should stop making excuses for celebrities, like, just because they go through hardship. Everybody goes through hardship. It's how you choose to deal with it, that separates you from everyone else. So, like with Kanye West, he has his own hardships, but he chooses what to do with it, and how to express himself. And then he's a product of the industry, people calling him a genius, saying, oh, you're a genius, this and that. Don't make excuses from don't inflate his ego. Sit there and give him a reality check every now and then. So everybody needs somebody to step in and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. You can't continue on with this behavior. But then again, it's also what's socially acceptable in society. So that's
yeah.
like the social norms for Hollywood. And Hollywood is socially acceptable to murder prostitutes and hide them in the alley or something. It's that's to the extreme point, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
Well, it's
that kind
true.
of predatorial behavior is acceptable.
Exactly. And it's been this way since day one. And that's what, one of the things that they do is they try to push their values onto us. The movie industry isn't about telling stories as it is controlling the narrative and the minds of the viewing public. And I mean, let's just skip over to here are celebrities that were named on the Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs. The Lolita Express, which again was, why would they call it the Lolita Express? If I had a plane that was used for blackmailing politicians and I call it the DC Express, okay, this is my political blackmail airplane. If I have one for Hollywood, I'm going to name it the one for my Hollywood blackmail plane. What they would do is these celebrities would get up on the airplane, which is loaded with video cameras and a bed, and they would do whatever they want with these underage girls. And like these are celebrities that didn't only just fly, but flew multiple times. The biggest stars in Hollywood, the biggest stars in the world of science, looking to Neil deGrasse Tyson and some of the things he's been accused from. Also, Lawrence Platt and no, Lawrence Krauss and Philip Platt, two famous astronomers who have been credibly accused of sexual indiscretion and abuses on students in universities. Nothing happens; they just get transferred to a new one. And they've been on like the Joe Rogan podcast and stuff like that. Kevin Spacey is a big one. Look
Yeah.
at all of the young men who've made accusations at Kevin Spacey and then died. Like literally a few days later will be, murdered in their apartments. And what's the old mafia saying? Well, if there's no body, there's no crime. Well, if there's no
Yeah.
accuser, there's no civil lawsuit.
It's a little crazy here, though. Like, the Epstein list came out in January of this year, and then there's been no other findings, no other names have been released. And I think it's when you run out of your usefulness with Hollywood, that's when they throw you to the wolves, like Kevin Spacey, or Diddy. But I don't think anything's going to happen with Diddy. Even though everybody knows he's a monster. He's practically worse than Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. But why isn't he in jail? All these accusations come out, but nothing's happening to him. He's still walking around free, living his best life ever, because he still has some usefulness. But he probably has a lot of evidence against a lot of people, because they say he's been recording everybody at all his parties, and we all know what a Diddy party is now. I mean, the truth is not out there. If you don't know what a Diddy party is, you can just Google it. I
It,
mean, they don't call him the diddler for nothing.
right. And and that's a great point you bring up is that a lot of times the reason these scandals happen and then they get brushed under the rug and just disappear immediately, memory hold as they say, is because that guy probably still has dirt on some very powerful people in Hollywood. So what they say is, "Hey, I have a dead man switch. If I go down, I'm taking all of you with me." So
Yeah.
this is Harvey Weinstein, who's now in prison for his sexual indiscretions with Ghislaine Maxwell and with Jeffrey Epstein at a party. Harvey Weinstein and Epstein were very, very tight. And if you look at like there's different tiers of movie producers, but Harvey Weinstein was one of the ones that would always be winning Oscars, the cream of the crop, so to speak,
Yeah.
in terms of success in Hollywood. And look at all of the people that are surrounding him that are just walking free. And you're
Yeah.
1 or 2 degrees of separation, and sometimes in direct connection with Quentin Tarantino, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, all of these different uber celebs who are very, very close to these people. And moving forward, hold on, let me show you something. So this is, where does all of this come from? Well, it's not just one person, it's all of them. If you just look
Yeah.
up the
Yeah.
celebrity eye symbolism, this is a symbol for the planet Saturn, which is a representation of Satan. Saturn and Satan are, interchangeable in a lot of, you know, in terms of a lot of the
Yeah.
teachings and the way that they represent planets for being gods, small g, not the most high god. Saturn represents Satan, and the all-seeing eye is representative of Saturn because it's an eye, it's the iris with the circle around it, right? Just like
Yeah.
an eye. So,
Yeah, and they all have strong Masonic ties. That's like the Mason, main Masonic symbol is the eye, and all these celebrities. And you notice the trend. Like if you don't pay attention to it before, if you never, like you just like, oh, they're all doing that. Like, oh, that's cool. I want to do it too. But yet they're all doing it, and they're all basically telling you who they serve and who they worship and what group they're a part of. And it's not coincidence. Nothing is by coincidence. It's all basically, part of that culture. Yeah. And if you look at the symboling of all seeing eye, it's on our money. It's right there on the dollar bill. There's a lot of other Masonic images on our money as well, but they're all tied in. You know, you call themselves the Illuminati or you call them the Freemasons, but uh, that's what they're all. They're part of that cult and a part of that group, and it's part of their tradition to let you know that that's what they are, but they keep everything else a secret. You
and
know,
and that's what the hidden knowledge is about, is they wash they, you know, cleanse themselves of their evil karma by having you allow them to do these things, because it's you are in so allowing this sort of stuff to happen and turning the other cheek, like we talked last week, and just letting this abuse and this evil take place, you're in part participating in it. So the way they do it is through their symbolism, and to let you know what they're up to, and if you don't do anything about it, well then you're in you're in cahoots with them. Essentially, it's the way that they view it. So when they show you these things, unless the uneducated eye will see this and say, oh, it's just the movies, it's just Hollywood being Hollywood, whatever the case may be. But the educated eye will see this and say, no, this is a pattern. This is a thing that they are doing. There's a set of, rules, symbolism to what they're up to. And even something like less, kind of, like, I mean, I guess notable in an eye, even their logos, like Nickelodeon. And you mentioned some of this, Amanda Bynes and some of the other celebrities, earlier, who have been through this child abuse that we learned from on the set, the Netflix documentary. I mean,
yeah, what
Netflix
on
even
set?
has to, yeah, thank you. Netflix even has to talk about it because it's so prevalent and so well known. They have to address it publicly. And
Yeah,
look at this, look at this. This is just a blotch of slime. And remember, it always creeped me out that grown men thinks it's a good idea to slime children publicly in the face. Like, what is that whole deal with Nickelodeon? As a kid, I thought it was funny. As an adult, I see that, and it starts to creep you out after a while,
yeah.
especially when Jeffrey Epstein's island is the same exact shape and pattern as the Nickelodeon logo.
Yeah, and you gotta think, like, how long has that island been in play since the inception of the logo? Is that where they got the inspiration for the Nickelodeon logo? You
And
know,
also
and
look,
also the name Nickelodeon means I don't care about God in Latin, right?
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
Nick L is God, and Odeon or whatever. Yeah, I've seen that on a video somewhere. But even the word, they had this foot symbol for a while, right?
Yeah, because they're obsessed with feet. All the crazy weirdos and pedophiles and all the sexual deviants for some reason have this crazy foot fetish, and they put it in movies a lot where they showcase feet. And Tarantino has it uh, big time because it's in all of his movies. I'm sure there are a whole bunch of other ones out there as well, but feet, that's like a big indicator right there. So go
Yeah,
ahead and tell us a
because
little about the feet history, Paul.
because of the Latin word pedis or pedis, depending. I don't speak Latin, but it's like pedis, I believe is how it's pronounced. Well, it's the same root word for podiatrist, which is a toddler doctor. We call them a toddler because they wobble back and forth because they're learning how to walk. And the same root word for pedophile, or it all comes from the word for feet. So it's a reference to molesting children and being a child molester, and they're telling you what they're doing in plain sight. And then once again, Harvey Weinstein, who produced every single one of Quentin Tarantino's movies, like, look, we're just doing this in real time. I'm not even. We're gonna go. Quentin. I can't spell his name. I'm sorry, Quentin
There it is, the
Tarantino.
first one.
There we go. And then we'll say feet. Look, there's all these articles. Look, right off the bat, what's with all the feet in his movies? The first close up of
Yeah,
Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction is on her feet when she's introduced.
yeah,
All of his movies have him doing something weird with feet. Um, Dusk Till Dawn, the famous scene with Selma Hayek,
yeah, yeah.
where he's literally sucking on a girl's toes. And then here's another one down in the corner you can see. He's got it in Once Upon a
Hollywood.
Time in Hollywood. It's in
Yeah,
every single one of his movies. There's some really disgusting videos of and pictures of Tarantino with children on the set. But again, Charlie Chaplin's very first movie was called The Kid. He, it's well known that he was grooming a 12-year-old girl, Lolita. And like, it's unbelievable when you start to get into this. And it's not just Nickelodeon, it's also Disney. This is the famous Disney logo, right? And now, when we look, we're going to break this down real quick because this is unbelievable. But like, just looking at it, yeah, this is Disney World or
yeah.
whatever.
Looks like a creative way to write Walt Disney on
Right.
it, right?
Nothing bad about that. But I always wondered why like this like part kind of popped out. Like, why is and you think this is the rising sun or something. Well, remember, we've done episodes on flat Earth before, right? So
Yeah,
one of the big things about the Tower of Babel is piercing the sky and cracking the sky and getting up into heaven. Because in the biblical model, as you can see here, there's the earth, the rocks that we live upon with mountains and water and all this sort of stuff. Above it is the firmament, the dome above us that we can't get through, the vault, as the Bible calls it, or the firmament. Above it is the
yeah,
waters, and then above that, even farther, is the seat of God. Here's another kind of cooler looking way to look at it, right? Earth, flat Earth, dome above, and then
yeah,
the seat of God at the very, very top. We've talked about this. Here's another one. Just I want to make sure you get a good idea, right? There's the firmament, there's the waters above. That's why the sky is blue, moon and the stars, and here's us kind of chilling on the earth, right?
yeah. Wow. So
So
I didn't even get that from the Disney image. So that
it's
the tower in the
piercing through.
castle is basically piercing is the Tower of Babel, right? It's
Exactly.
piercing the firmament. Oh, wow. I never even noticed that. I knew about the other symbolism in the logo, but I never placed that one together. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah. And now if we take the word Mickey Mouse, flip it upside down, it spells out the word wicked. You can even see that in your coffee. People figured this out because they sell these Disney, cups with Mickey's rear end on it or whatever, his
Oh,
lower
wow.
half. If you look at it in the coffee, it clearly says wicked.
Wow. So they're
Another
just putting
one.
it everywhere.
Look how many sixes are in the way you spell Walt Disney.
Yeah.
666.
Even the D is like a backward six, right?
Yeah, it looks like it for sure. And on and on and on. And like, and then you go, okay, well, there's these druidic in with the druids, they use Hollywood. A witch's broom is made out of Hollywood, right? They're the witch's broom curses, native holly trees, and all this sort of stuff. Well, that's nothing to do with what we're talking about. But historically, a witch's broom is made out of hazelwood or Hollywood. Look at all of these celebrities that came through Disney: Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Ryan Gosling, Kerry Russell, JC Chazez. I don't even know who that person is, to be honest. I'm so out of touch. But
Yeah.
these are all people that came through Disney, the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah,
Uh,
Miley Cyrus too, right?
Miley Cyrus is another big one.
Yeah.
Look at the way that they always treat the celebrity character arc in the public eye, is especially with the girls. They come
Yeah.
along, they're innocent,
They're
sweet
sweet
girl
and
next door.
innocent, and then they become these adult sex symbols, you know?
Not even adult, they're like young people sex symbols. It's like the day
Well,
they
yeah.
turn 18, and then all of a sudden
Oh,
they
the
go
second they turn 18, they totally flip the script and go from loving child star to adult film star, you know?
more or less, yeah, like you're twerking on the Video Music Awards, right?
Yeah.
So this is a character arc that's used to uh, compromise the virtue of young people, specifically women. This is about degrading, our world and the world that we would have. It's all a mockery of what God's intention is for us, which is one man, one wife, one family. And
Yeah.
what we have here are compromised values from the moment we begin, because we look at these stars on television and we emulate their behaviors. And that's why it's so important that you have this introduction of a nice, lovable young person, and then you turn them into a sex symbol, because you want sexual depravity among the people. You want
Yeah.
us to have no morals and to totally destroy our country from within. This
Yeah.
is
You want
this
to
is
destroy the sanctity of marriage. That's why celebrities get divorced like every 5 months or so, and their relationships don't last because they don't try to fix anything in the relationship. It's just like contractual relationships between them to make it seem like, okay, if these big celebrities are doing it, then it's okay for us to do it as well.
exactly. And their symbolism, it's not just one guy, it's all of them. Here, this is the above so below.
Uh, this one tripped me out because I love Forrest Gump. I I used to love that movie,
This
man,
is
and
this
Tom Hanks and Saving Private Ryan. And then when I found out that he did this in the movie, in the scene, like zoom in on that one where he's saying goodbye to Jenny, and he goes up and he says, peace, and you're thinking it's just, oh, he's saying peace, but then with his other hand, click on that picture below. Yeah, with his other hand, he's doing the as above, so below symbol. I'm like, why is he doing that? Like, why did that cut even make it into the movie? Like, and they do it so slick, like you don't even notice. I've seen Forrest Gump like 100 times, and I never noticed that until somebody pointed it out.
All right, I can do another one in real time. Well, I might be able to. We might have to edit this, but I can do another crazy one in real time. So
Yeah.
look, we'll go Wilson and from Castaway,
Hmm.
right? You know what this is.
Yeah, Wilson, the volleyball,
I don't know how to spell her name.
Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah,
She's obsessed with Castaway.
yeah.
And she's even has a sweater with the Castaway Wilson face on it, which is pretty
Uh-huh.
weird. That's just one picture. She's worn it several times. This is all during the lockdowns where she was posting selfies. She was constantly wearing this weird, gross looking image of blood, a bloody face, which is totally creepy and
Yeah.
weird.
Well, I mean,
No, look.
yeah,
This is where it
yeah, that's
gets weirder
tricky.
and weirder. This is Lady Gaga, a known Satanist. Um, I can't actually. I'm not going to zoom in any farther on that one. I can't zoom.
Yeah.
So we're going to zoom out. If you saw that, I apologize. Don't look at this direction. This has to do with a certain satanic sexual child abuse act, and it includes destroying the child's face. And
Yeah.
that's where this inspiration for this ball came from. It's not that this is them washing their karma for you in real time. And for those of you that were unaware of how evil Ellen DeGeneres is, look at her set and then look at the temple on Epstein Island. Palm trees and all. It's the same thing. Their symbolism will be their downfall because they put it in our face for so long that they wanted us to know what they were up to. If you are take nothing
Well,
away,
I don't think they just want us to know what they're up to. They put it in our face so that when we see it we're not like, you know, we just brush it off as something. They do it so much in front of you that you're like, oh, it's just them being silly, or like you make excuses for it yourself. You just fall right into their trap, by putting all that evil in front of your face. You become desensitized to it and you can't recognize it for what it is. So, I mean, if you were like living in a remote village somewhere in the middle of Africa and you never seen all of this stuff, and then all of a sudden, you're taken into Hollywood and people show you, what they're doing in Hollywood, you'd be like shocked. You'd be like, this is for the devil. This is, worshiping gods and stuff. You're just, taken out of left field. So that's why they do it. They put it in front of your face, so you're desensitized.
And now keep in mind, Jarrell and I put in, and I'm not kidding, probably 5 minutes of preparation for this. This is basically just off the top of our heads, things that we know and have looked into, very surface level. Like, and I'm not saying like, that to discredit us. I'm saying you can do this research too. If once you see this kind of stuff they've been up to, you can't unsee it. Like some of the craziest things that I people will come to me after I've told them, "Hey, what did you think about this?" And then all of a sudden, "Oh my gosh." Um like Nefertiti and Moana. The Moana always kind of creeped me out, right? And I know because my niece is like obsessed with it. So we would watch Moana all the time. Moana is a story about a runaway who goes to an island, and then teams up with The Rock, who is one of the creepiest guys. I wouldn't trust The Rock, as far as I could throw him. And I used to be a big Rock fan. I'm a big pro wrestling fan.
I was a
You know,
huge Rock fan.
yeah, but
You
when you
know,
start to learn
I made it
about,
my goal to watch every Dwayne Johnson movie ever.
yeah, and I've probably
When
seen half of them, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff with him. I could do a whole episode on him, but we're just going to focus on this for now. In the movie, his character urinates on Moana. They have a pet chicken. Chicken is a slang word for a young boy that's procured for sexual relations in the pedophile world. You can Google that. Uh, uh, I'd recommend using a VPN. But if you go to FBI.gov, it'll tell you all of the different code words that the human traffickers use for children. And you're wondering, okay, Hollywood's all about runaways. The border, Hollywood is right on the border. And
Yeah.
California is horrible for illegal immigration. In other words, human child sex trafficking. And with Moana, I'll share my screen once again. Where'd you go, Terrell?
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right, I lost my screen sharing button. There we go. This specifically always creeped me out. Not the cool, villain monster that she overcomes with kindness or whatever the heck it is.
The symbol on his chest.
What is the Nefertiti symbol, right?
Yeah.
That swirl, right? That swirl is everywhere in the pedophile world. So look, if we go FBI pedophile symbolism, here we go. These are the different symbols they like to use. Uh, And of course, all of these symbols are also emojis on your phone, except for this one. But the triangle, and especially with the spiral, here's another spiral. The hearts within a hearts, the butterflies. Britney Spears has a butterfly tattoo on her lower back. The spiral and the swirl is a symbol that they use, you know, for pedophilia. I was spiral. See him?
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So this image,
And they put it right in the movie on the main villain.
yep.
Jeez, it's crazy.
Where'd she go? Did I? Well, I deleted out of.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's crazy. That's the same symbol.
And then, whoopsies. Not only that, let's look at. Go back one. All right, this triangle thing, right?
I always thought that just meant recycle.
No. It's also on the LA Sheriff's Los Angeles County Sheriff's badge.
Really?
One of the
Wow.
towns that has the worst human trafficking problems, the highest gay population, the highest rich elite satanic population in the world. So now we know who they're actually supposed to be protecting. You can also notice how many points are on the sides of this star.
Six-pointed star with the pedophilia symbol. So they're basically saying that the sheriff's office is in on it.
100%.
Jeez.
They even put it on children's clothing. A lot of times you'll see the spirals and stuff on diapers. And fact check false. Okay, then why is it on FBI.gov, dude? Like, and even in this time, like you can, like when I looked at all this stuff up, now the elephant in the room for some viewers is, well, Trump was on the Epstein plane, wasn't he? He rented a plane that was owned by Jeffrey Epstein one time to fly from Florida to Trenton, and Epstein's son was on the plane. But that was not the Lolita Express. He flew on it one time, and people will bring that up, and then they'll forget the fact that Bill Gates flew on it 26 times, and Bill Clinton even more than that. But they want to focus on the one time Trump did it. Here's the thing: if it turns out tomorrow that it comes out Trump is one of them, and there's videos on him, and he's controlled and all this sort of stuff, then I'll be the first to put it out there and point out what's going on. But I think that he goes places to shine light on certain activities, not that he partakes in them, but in the same way that when you follow him and the people that have tried to get into his inner circle and associate themselves to him, there's a lot of them, like even, Mike Flynn, General Mike Flynn, who I think is a traitor, Mike Pence, who betrayed Trump and certified the, illegal, fraudulent, stolen election in 2020. Just because they were aligned with him at one point doesn't mean that they're, or even up until now, doesn't mean that they're necessarily good people. I don't trust JD Vance as far as I can throw him. I know that he says a lot of cool stuff, but I don't trust anybody but Donald Trump. Well, let me even say I'll walk that one back. I don't trust anybody but my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But
Yeah.
up until this point, I have not been proven wrong about Donald Trump. So if that day comes, so be it. I have no ego in the matter of pointing out evil because
I'm not a Trump I'm not a Trump aficionado or advocate for Donald Trump. The only thing I would say about him is, if he is elected, that the economy would probably be in a better situation. But, he could very well be the rider on the white horse. But I'm not advocating whether he is or he isn't. But back to the main topic, not to let Trump overtake all of our uh, podcast episodes. The main topic is, yeah, that the Hollywood movie industry and the music industry, they're all wrapped in this giant satanic cabal where they all feed off of the souls of innocent people. And like we said in the previous episode, when you're sitting there and you're supporting them and you're, singing these songs and you're basically chanting their rituals and giving them what they want
spells.
and need. Yeah, you're basically casting spells. And what you said about Hollywood, deriving from a Holly witch,
The Holly, the witch's
Holly
broom
tree.
is made out of Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah, the witch's broom is made out of Hollywood. So, and then you have people like Ariana Grande coming out and saying that they're witches, and then Taylor Swift. If you look at it, she looks exactly like the daughter of the head of the Church of Satan, and like she's the reincarnated version of her, or like she just had some kind of surgery on her. She looks like her, she sounds like her, and she sings like her. You can Google that yourself. I think her name is Zelina something.
No,
Um,
it's Zelda LeVay
Zelda
or
LeVay. Yeah,
Xena. Here, I found her.
yeah, yeah. She looks just like Taylor Swift. Look at that.
And
That is
that's
crazy.
LaVey. Anton
Anthony
LaVey was the
LaVey's
high.
daughter.
He was the high priest of Satan for Hollywood, and he founded the Church of Satan in Hollywood. And then this woman was his wife, I believe, and allegedly, we're not. I'm not. I agree. I agree that there has to be a family connection because they just look too much alike. They even have the same voice. Like if you go back, it wasn't Oprah, but it was like, Jenny Lee or something, some TV talk show in the 80s
Yeah,
where this woman was talking about being a Satanist. Her husband was the founding father of Satanism on the West Coast of America. And
yeah,
you can't help but notice the,
yeah. And
striking
then
resemblance.
type in Taylor Swift satanic ceremonies at her concert, because like if you look at her concert, she's basically performing witchcraft on stage, the way she,
With the
and she's casting spells on her audience, and there's she like all her music videos took like a huge turn from innocence, and more and more celebrities and more artists are coming out with all these satanic ceremonies, and she's basically performing spells right there on stage, and there are people saying that they left her concert with no memory of what
Mhm.
happened, and they paid $1,000 for a ticket. If you paid $1,000 for a concert ticket and you have no memory of what happened, they're casting spells on you, dude. I mean, it's blatantly obvious that she's dressed like a witch, and she's got, what is it, like 12 other witches on there with her, and performing these symbolisms right on stage and performing these magic, and then you have people in the audience chanting and saying these things over and over. It's crazy. And then who got everybody remember the Super Bowl from this year, right? That was a big thing.
Yeah.
The 2024 Super Bowl, what was it, 57? With Usher, that was a big, like, I didn't even, before, I used to love watching the Super Bowl halftime show and just see what was going on. But I mean, you have people coming out in red, Rihanna throwing up the Illuminati. She ain't in Rockefeller. Why is she doing this? Why is she throwing it up? Last time I checked, Rihanna wasn't signed to Rockefeller. Usher performing on a fiery clock. I mean, if you go back and you watch all this stuff and you look at all the other past Super Bowls, like the only one I could say that wasn't heavily symbolized was probably the J-Lo and Shakira one. But it's
Oh
in
no,
the
that one was too. That one
oh, that one was too.
100%. Yeah, that one's all about child abuse because they had the kids in cages and then the this is really freaking dark, but like the tying up the children's arms, they tie when they were wrapping the ropes around their arms and doing this, there's certain artwork that depicts children being abused that way. Not what I would consider artwork, but stuff that is sold for millions of dollars, in New York City and at these different art exchanges, that depicts some pretty horrific looking imagery. And that was 100% the inspiration. I can't remember the artist's name. I could find it. It would take me 10 minutes to find it right now. But 100%, every single Super Bowl, especially, I mean, even looking back, like, every Super Bowl is telling you what the future holds. Like, what was the one with the Los Angeles Rams and the Bengals, right? Well, the
Yeah,
Los Angeles Rams, Super Bowl, what it was, Rams and Bengals. I forget which number this was. LVI. All right, we're gonna go Super
yeah,
Bowl
51.
LVI halftime. It was Snoop Dogg, I believe, was the halftime performer. And look at this. He's wearing the same colors as the Rams, right? Because he's from
Yeah,
Los Angeles. He's wearing the blue and gold. 1 month
yeah,
after this Super Bowl, the Ukrainian war broke out, where blue and gold is the color of the flag. The Rams changed their colors from a deeper blue and a deeper gold color to the blue and yellow, the same colors as the Ukrainian flag. And then Sean McVay, the Super Bowl winning head coach for the Los Angeles Rams, his wife is from Ukraine. So nothing is coincidental. And like even
sure,
when
not even a little bit, maybe a
right
little bit
no,
coincidental. No.
look at the
I
one
don't believe in coincidences.
super
You guys
time
know that.
halftime show with the weekend, and
Oh, that one was definitely satanic. I
it's
mean,
all
come
people
on.
being locked up in their
And the
houses because of
Weeknd
the
is a known
pandemic,
Satanist. Everybody knows he's the Satanist, and
and
he's
they're all
like
wearing
openly
masks.
admitted it.
They're all wearing masks. They're all locked up inside while he's in the ridiculously stupid set that they had him running around lost in because he's locked indoors,
Yeah.
right? Like it's all in your face, and it's all programming. But again, this is no different. What's going on here is no different than what it's been going on since the very, very, very beginning. They show you what they're up to with their symbolism, with these characters on and off the screen. They're always in character for us uninitiated. And so yeah, the sorry, we got the but it even goes back to, like, I have so many questions about Hollywood, to the point where I'm starting to ask whether or not Taylor Swift is related to the high priest of Satan. Like, like,
Yeah.
eventually your head is swimming and
Yeah.
you're going, "Oh my gosh, what do I even know?" And the answer is you don't know anything, because they don't want you
Yeah.
to know anything.
Yeah, I mean, this may be a lot for a lot of people to digest, but the whole purpose of this episode and this podcast is, just to make you aware of it, so you can start paying attention to these things a little more when you're watching movies, enjoying yourself. I'm not saying don't watch no movies, don't enjoy yourself, don't listen to music, but be cognizant of what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're recepting, because your eyes and ears are windows to the world, and you're perceiving this, and then you got to make sure what you're exposing your children to out there, because if they see a little symbolism on Moana and say, oh, that symbol must mean Moana, it's safe and fun to go in, and then all of a sudden there's the van with that same symbol in there saying, hey, here's some free candy, then your kids are abducted and they're going missing, and part of the millions of children that have gone missing throughout the year in the world, and next thing you know, they're being sex trafficked. And I think one good movie that highlights a lot of what was going on is Sound of Freedom. If
Yep.
you haven't seen that, it showed basically that those kids in the beginning of the movie were lured in for like a photo shoot to be, oh, you could be actors or models, and next thing you know, they're trafficked in the middle of the Amazon in South America. And that could just happen to anybody. So uh, definitely go see Sound of Freedom. That movie should have been bigger than it was when it released. Everybody should check it out. I think it's on Amazon right now. It's still on Angel Studios. So go definitely watch that movie. It'll open your eyes to a lot of what's going on,
And
and
oh,
just check it out, and let us know what you think.
and one last thing before we close, I wanted to put a bow on this. All right. The National Center of Missing and Exploited Children estimates that around 2,000 children disappear from amusement parks, including both Disneyland and Walt Disney World, each year. Okay. There's a whole, as everybody knows, at Disney World, there's a whole nother world underneath of Disney that's not, the bright, shiny, Disney that you see when you visit there. I've never been there. I'm never going to go there. But, you know, the human trafficking, they tell you is real, and it happens everywhere, but especially at these hotspots that are connected directly to Hollywood. And uh, this sort of symbolism, this sort of knowledge allows you to keep your head on a swivel, to protect your family, and to also see them for what they are. And these are manipulative, horrible creatures that have literally sold their soul to the devil. I keep saying, like, how do they become famous? Oh, I just got discovered in Hollywood. It's the same story with all of these celebrities. I was a nobody one day, then magically I'm super famous the next day, because you sold your soul to the devil. And they really do that. They
Yeah,
really
they
participate
really
in
sell
these.
it. You
The
know.
Angelina Jolie had a video come out from when she was in her 20s, talking about how she had to get initiated in an orgy. Like, these are things that are going on in the world of this so-called science. It's scientism. It's not real science. This is what's going on in the entertainment industry and in our sports industry. And you can navigate your way through this world knowing what they're doing, and calling them out for what they're doing, and understand that just your voice alone can change the world. Because the last thing that whoever they are, and we're figuring that out with each podcast as we go, we're figuring out who's, controlling us and forcing us to, participate in this horrible wickedness. Can allow you to protect your soul, put on the armor of God, protect your family, protect your loved ones, and, hopefully make the world a better place by stopping this sort of stuff. So this is ultimately what we're doing here. So be careful, be safe, let God
Yeah.
lead your
Take
life,
care of
and
yourself. Let God lead you, and continue to pray every day, and pray for protection, and pray for your loved ones, and be vigilant. But that's the end of our episode today. We want to thank you all for listening and tuning in this week and tuning in every week. Big thank you to all our subscribers and our followers, and continue to like, share, and repost this video, and feel free to leave a comment. Again, this is Prasad Pod. I'm your host, Jarrell Prasad, and
Paul Campbell.
all right, well, thank you and have a good one.